Ian and Mary are standing by for us. Let's discuss more about what this all means for the war, Ukraine, and Europe. Joining us now is ABC News military contributor Steve Ganyard. Steve, good morning to you. So give us a sense of what's at stake here, and specifically the territory Russia has been able to gain control of over the course of this war.
Yeah, Whit, let's step back 3.5 years and see where the territory was, and then we'll talk about where it has gone since then, since the war's been going on. So here we are in February of 2022. Here's all of Ukraine. They did hold part of the Donbass here. There was separatists held there, and they annexed the Crimea as well. Let's fast forward to today. Here we see where the front lines are. We can draw them just to make them a bit clearer. This is where the fighting has essentially become stagnant, not much movement along the front lines. Going into the negotiations that we hope will take place with Putin and with Zelensky, we know that Putin's demands are to take the rest of Donetsk, the rest of Zaporizhia, and the rest of Kherson. Very maximalist demands. It's going to be very difficult for Zelensky to give up that much territory, but that's where the discussions, the negotiations will begin.
And Steve, thank you so much for painting that picture with us. That really helps to see it all happening. So let's bring back in Ian, because Ian, you just explained the international reaction, how Ukrainian officials are reacting. But what about Russian officials? How are they reacting to that meeting in Alaska? Did Putin achieve what he wanted?
Well, Putin did achieve what he wanted in two major respects. One is that he got the meeting. He comes out of the cold, or in from the cold. He gets the face-to-face meeting with President Trump. He stands side by side on the stage. And he also clearly persuaded President Trump of his argument that there should be a discussion about an overall peace agreement. Now, that might sound positive, but Russia's definition of a peace agreement is very different from Zelensky's, very different from Europe's. I mean, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev saying President Trump, quotes, refused to escalate pressure on Putin. President Macron this morning, again, reminding everyone that they should draw lessons from 30 years of what he called Russia's well-established tendency to fail to honour its own commitments. In other words, is Russia pushing for peace, or was this a way of kicking it down the line? One final word to Ukraine. The Kyiv Independent, summing up what I think many people feel this morning with the editorial sickening, shameful, and in the end, useless.
Yeah, fascinating to see how the world is reacting. And Mary is still standing by in Alaska where that meeting took place. And Mary, where do things go from here? President Trump had been pushing for that trilateral meeting with the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia. Will that even happen?
Well, Gio, traveling home on Air Force One last night, the president sounding a bit defeated, but also still optimistic that that meeting between Vladimir Putin and President Zelensky is somehow still possible, that trilateral meeting that he has been seeking all along. But given what we saw play out here yesterday and the president's tone this morning, this shift on a ceasefire, embracing more Vladimir Putin's position for a long-term deal instead, it's really hard to see how the three of them, especially how Vladimir Putin and Zelensky, are going to be able to sit down at the same table anytime soon.
Yeah, and again, the world is watching. All right, thank you all for your reporting on this, and you can follow the latest developments on ABC News Live and later this evening with Whit on World News Tonight.
We'll have a full wrap-up later.